So today was the spending review. We've covered it today on ELN, and we're at the HEAT conference where it was certainly a hot topic. Joining me now is Alan Whitehead. Alan, your reaction to the spending review? It seems a nice gag you said about the policy going from green, amber to red, but in seriousness, have the Tories done the right things when it comes to balancing that trilemma of, for them, actually a dilemma, cost and security?
I think they've had a go at it. But the problem, I think, is twofold. Firstly, is actually trying to make sense of what actually is in the spending review, really, as opposed to the headlines, and that quite often takes a little while to unravel. But secondly, there appears to be an increasing divide between rhetoric and action. So the rhetoric has been maintained at the same level, but the action clearly is becoming thinner and thinner, and certainly we can see this in what sense we can make of things like the future of the energy company obligation, or son and daughter of the energy company obligation. That looks like a much smaller programme. The renewable heat incentive looks to be a much thinner programme going forward to the future. There are some good signs in terms of the development of funding for district heating networks, but overall a number of the things I would like to have seen in terms of taking the renewables and low carbon agenda forward are either completely absent or are on the back burner, and of course overall we've got this massive cut in the running budget of DEC in the review, and that is going to make life a bit difficult, I think.
Do you think he's trying to cover both bases, fracking and support for renewables? He's trying to say, look, I'm trying to balance everywhere.
The problem, I think, is that in trying to do that, there's a combination of a rather smaller amount of funding for things that have been tried and tested. I mean, straightforward things like energy efficiency in properties. And then things that are frankly flyers, like lots more money for fracking when we still haven't got a single well actually in production having been fracked in this country, and it's going to be a long haul for us to have any number. And then this year's new craze, modular nuclear reactors, 250 million to develop something which is essentially a drawing board concept at the moment. And whether that will produce anything, I don't know. But in the meantime, we could have been spending that money or some other money much more wisely and efficiently on doing the things we know can have results, and we know really need the money to make progress in the next period.
Finally, if your party was in charge, would you have done the reset? I mean, let's be honest, it is time for the green industries to stand on their own feet, and economically it makes sense. So if you were in charge now, would you have done something similar?
I don't think the argument is with the idea that green energy, low carbon energy, needs to stand on its own feet in the end. It's really a question of the difference between what would have been a gently sloping road down to the digression of subsidies and underwriting to a position where we know those things, such as solar, green, indeed, could be at market parity in the not too distant future, and then suddenly producing a cliff out of nowhere over which everyone falls, with the consequences that we've seen already in terms of difficulties with energy investor confidence, with difficulties in what direction the government looks like it's going, and complete confusion as to how programmes then can work on the basis of that supposed reset.
So in a word, good or bad day for energy?
A mixed day for energy, I think, and indeed there's some more mining of the spending review itself, I think, to go before we know the full extent of the good bits and the bad bits. But I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of it in the end.